here we are again discussing another terrible crime against women that happened in the not so distant past. Here we are again talking about the pain inflicted on women by society, but mainly by men. Here we are again talking about brutality inflicted on women because of this moral stance taken by society, but mainly by men. In the past couple of months, we've heard deputies talk of their righteous outrage and anger over what happened in the Magdalen laundries, and expressing their sympathy and regret about what happened to the women who were imprisoned in the Magdalen laundries. And tonight again we have an opportunity to talk of the hurt and pain enforced on the survivors of this barbaric practice of symphysiotomy. We have a chance not only to discuss this crime against women, but we also have an opportunity to right the wrong perpetrated on this group of Irish women. Symphysiotomies basically involve the sawing of a pregnant woman's pelvis in order to facilitate childbirth. And we heard from women that it results in a long-term health problems, including chronic pain, incontinence, a life of hurt and a long pain. And this barbaric act was carried out in this state between the 40s and the early 90s. After such operations, other big as it said, being discontinued in other countries. The whole process was secretive, and women who underwent the procedure had to carry the burden alone, unable to speak publicly of their pain and their hurt. Symphysiotomy was a callous attempt to push religious beliefs and values on innocent women. Many symphysiotomies were carried out illegally, and doctors failed to consult the consent of their female patients. The procedure appears to have only happened to public patients in hospitals with strong Catholic ethos. The procedure was viewed and performed by some as an alternative to caesarean section. Some viewed caesarean section as a cap on the size of families, since a mother who had the procedure was restricted to having 4 children at the most. The Catholic Church during these decades expected women to give birth to as many children as possible, and restricting a family to only 4 children was regarded in some in church circles as unnatural, an abomination. As contraception was not available to most women, symphysiotomies were used to allow women with difficult births to continue to reproduce. I've worked with my fellow deputies on the victims of symphysiotomy all-party support group, and I've met and talked to many victims, and they were greatly hurt by the Walsh report commissioned by the government. This report concluded that 97% of symphysiotomies carried out in Ireland were in line with acceptable medical practice. Again, the survivors were not asked their opinion, asked to tell their stories, or queried about what they were forced to endure. Tonight's PMB gives us the chance to right the wrongs that inflicted on these women and remove the whitewash of history. There were not medical exceptions. This bill is modelled on the 2000 legislation to allow victims of child sex abuse in residential institutions to seek compensation. It would lift a 2-year statute of limitation, which is preventing many victims from seeking compensation in the courts. In recent months and years, we have, as legislators, debated and read about massive amounts of women who fell the victims to this state's brutality.
1 minute.
And in this case, approximately 1,500 women underwent this brutal procedure, and less than 200 are alive today. So we should hang our heads in shame. These now elderly women in their fight for justice met barriers as they turned for help. Men, and it is mostly men, who have let these women down. They have the simplest of demands, and all they want is for a statute of limitations to be lifted so they can get redress and receive proper recognition for what was inflicted on them. As Michael Clifford wrote in the Irish Examiner in November 2012, the state broke their bodies, but not their spirit. Men and women in this House can begin tonight and tomorrow night to right the wrongs inflicted on these women.
Go back with you, Seán Crowe.